Good afternoon. When I spoke this morning, I mentioned how the people in some countries would feel that this symposium was very, very strange, because in too many countries the courts are deliberately kept from the people, except, of course, when they've been accused of a crime or of disloyalty to the country. We do not believe that in Kansas. We try to be open. After all, the Kansas courts were created by the people of Kansas when they approved our state constitution more than 150 years ago. Now, judges and lawyers will tell you it's one thing to say something in a courtroom like we're in today. It's quite another to prove it with facts. So let me prove that we try to be open. First of all, we have a website that's been with us for a number of years. I think it was established in the 1990s, as I recall, and it's been updated frequently since then. I believe this copy was in your materials, which you received this morning. As an example, you can go to this website and you can learn who I am and how I got to this position. You'll also see that the Supreme Court and the Kansas Court of Appeals voluntarily provide to the public all of our decisions every Friday at 9:30. We tell you, if you look at this website, where our court is sitting and where. You'll also learn what cases we are hearing at any given time. And this allows anyone to come see us who so desires. But as you also probably know, since 1861, if Kansans wanted to see their Supreme Court in action, they had to come to our courtroom in Topeka. First, the old courtroom, which is still in the State Capitol building, and then since 1978 in the courtroom where you were this morning. Then in early 2011, my colleagues and I decided that we were going to move our court proceedings to some other locations. We first went to the old Supreme Court courtroom in the Capitol building. We then went to Salina, we went to Greensburg, we went to Wichita, and just last month we went to Johnson County Community College where we held court. But if Kansans wanted to see us in action, they still had to go physically to those locations. And our audience size, of course, was limited by the size of those rooms. For example, in Salina, we had people standing in the hallway because there were just too many people to be accommodated by the room. So beginning several months ago, our court decided that we would no longer be limited by the size of those forums. And as you well know, particularly from your discussion this morning, Kansans and others can now watch the Kansas Supreme Court live on the internet on your computer screens. And so I like to say the next time you are in Jamaica on the beach, if you have your media-issued iPad and you have internet connection, you can watch Justice Moritz during oral arguments on the Supreme Court. We are one of only 13 states who do this. And if you don't have internet access on the Jamaican beach, when you come back here, you can still access us because those arguments are archived and you can go back and look at them. This is a great educational tool for our students and for the general public. I also want to indicate that our Court of Appeals does an excellent job of making its proceedings accessible as well. The Court of Appeals travels the state in panels of 3 judges conducting their proceedings. They are all open to the public. We have encouraged the Court of Appeals to keep doing this, traveling throughout the state, bringing the courts to the people. And at some point in the next few months, the Court of Appeals will have been to all 31 judicial districts throughout the state of Kansas. To my knowledge, that has never been done before. So, for any citizens who might complain in the voting booths that they don't know the appellate judges and justices and thus don't know whether they should vote to retain us, my first answer is go to our court website. There's lots of information there. It also includes the evaluations performed on all appellate judges, all Supreme Court justices. performed by citizens, lawyers, and fellow judges. Another good example of the openness that we strive for is, of course, our Pegasus project. This was our review of the operations of the judicial branch of government for the last few years. The Blue Ribbon Commission from Project Pegasus conducted a listening tour in about 19 communities around the state, and I, on a regular basis, updated Kansans with the progress of Project Pegasus on our website. I presented the Blue Ribbon Commission report to the governor, the Speaker of the House, and the Senate President during my State of the Judiciary speech to the legislature last January. I openly talked about the Blue Ribbon Commission's recommendations in my speech, and later that same night we posted the entire Blue Ribbon Commission report on our website for everybody to read. And I will probably talk about the progress we've made on Project Pegasus during this year's speech to the legislature, provided, of course, the Speaker of the House allows me to address the legislature. Finally, on a local level, our nominating commissions for judicial selection conduct their meetings open to the public, as our friend from Kingman can attest when I was there last Friday, chairing that nominating commission. I can give you other examples, but they're too numerous to mention. But I think these examples will demonstrate that we are committed to openness in the Kansas court system. Let me close with this. In my speeches, I've been known to quote Abraham Lincoln, sometimes Theodore Roosevelt. Sometimes I have recited Shakespeare's prose, such as his St. Crispin's Day speech. Anybody care to recite that speech with me? Please stand up. All right. But today's group is a little different because we all share a love of writing. So I'm going to take a flyer and mention something else from history. You may know there is a professor in Minnesota who has written a series of articles about how we can improve our writing by studying certain United States presidents. She has written on the power of brevity, citing Abraham Lincoln. She has written on the power of metaphor, citing Thomas Jefferson. And she has written on the power of rigor, citing James Madison. Now, these are all pretty obvious choices, it seems to me. So I want to talk about her fourth and most recent article, in which she writes on the power of clarity. Anybody here want to take a guess on what wordsmith president she chose to write about for clarity? Bush. That's very close. Ulysses S. Grant. And she cites as examples his personal memoirs from the 1880s, and she also cites as examples his orders during the Civil War to his subordinate generals. With your permission, I'll take about a minute or two to read from her article. Grant knew the importance of clarity in his orders. Active warfare is no place for confusion. Unfortunately, the Civil War had many instances of vague, ambiguous, or confusing orders that affected the outcome of a campaign or a battle. In contrast, Grant provided plain, clear, and concise orders. One of her examples is as follows. He wrote the following to General George Gordon Meade on April 9, 1864, during the Virginia campaign. Quote, "In the field, Culpeper Courthouse, Virginia. Major General George G. Meade, Commanding Army of the Potomac. Lee's army will be your objective point. Wherever Lee goes, there you will go also. U.S. Grant, Lieutenant General." According to the professor, Meade knew exactly what Grant meant, and so do we. Do not be distracted. You must follow Lee. Grant's objective was always to destroy the Confederate Army. He did not care about capturing the Confederate capital of Richmond. The professor says that the Meade dispatch is simple and direct, but the dispatch is also lyrical. Grant's language has a biblical counterpart in the book of Ruth, where Ruth tells her mother-in-law, Naomi, quote, "Where you go, I will go," unquote. And you'll note that except for the word wherever, every other word in the second sentence of the dispatch is only one syllable long. I repeat, quote, "Wherever Lee goes, there you will go also," unquote. I think that's a fine point to leave on. Thank you very much.